Welcome back to Rockstock Channel. It is Thursday, September 26th, and we are just concluding a very busy climate week here in New York City, at which critical mineral security was a very hot topic at all events. I posted on X last night a quick video of my catch-up with Chris Evans following an investor site visit and strategy meetings which followed Winsome Resources' publication of very low CapEx, high IRR preliminary economic assessment resulting from Chris's prescient option to buy the bankrupt Renard Diamond Mine. I also talked with Chris about Winsome's prior opportunistic investment in Power Metals, which continues to have great momentum with its Cesium exploration, an update for which is the subject of today's video with Rodney Hooper and Power Metals CEO Haydn Daxter. Those of you who may have missed our first video with Haydn earlier this month, please check out the show notes for a link to that interview. For disclosure purposes, you should know that Rodney and I are strategic advisors to and hold equity interests in Power Metals as well as Winsome Resources. But we are not, of course, financial advisors. This video is for informational purposes only, and nothing said here should be considered investment advice. Please do your own research and read the disclaimer at the end of this video. And please make sure to like this video, subscribe to Rockstock Channel, and leave a question or comment below. What do you think of Haydn and Power Metals prospects? What other companies or niche metals might you be interested to hear from on Rockstock Channel in the future? You can email your thoughts to us at rockstockchannel@rkequity.com or tag Rodney or me on X at RodneyHooper13 and at Lithium Ion Bull. And if you'd like to receive the Lithium Ion Bull newsletter, please visit rkequity.com and register your email there. As a reminder, Power Metals trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange ticker symbol PWM.V. It also trades on the OTC PWRMF. Its market cap is now about 50 million Canadian or 35 million US dollars. Share price is 34 cents, up more than 30% in the past month and year to date. You can follow Power Metals at Power Metals Corp, and they also post regularly on LinkedIn. And with that, I'll leave it to Rodney and Haydn to have a follow-up interview.
Haydn, great to have you back on the channel. Can you please update us all on what's been happening on the ground with Power Metals since we last spoke?
Certainly will do, and thanks again, Howard and Rodney. It's nice to be back and share a bit more of the Power Metals stories. Look, so I guess since we last spoke, we've continued to progress exploration drilling at Case Lake, sort of targeting the main Cesium areas there. That should be finished within the next week to 10 days, we anticipate, which is great. And with that, we're every 3 to 4 days, we've got samples heading off to SGS for analysis. Test work is continuing. We've got over 100 kilos of test material at SGS in Lakefield at present to commence chemical test work. We've also received a load of MET samples to TOMRA in Australia, and they're about to schedule their ore sorting production for us on that and provide a report on the separation of polysite, cesium, lithium, and tantalum with the waste materials. So they're the main key points that we're conducting on site. Aside from those, we hosted a environmental inspection with the First Nation partners that was extremely well delivered and well presented from the team and appreciated from our First Nation partners. So that's about us at present, and obviously behind the scenes we're progressing a number of other avenues that are looking to advance the project as rapidly as possible.
So just in terms of milestones and sequencing, Haydn, what can we expect as the next initial result and then going forward?
Yeah, so I think initially we'll be planning on probably mid to later in October, the first round of assay results. Shortly thereafter will be confirmation from the ore sorting work with TOMRA. That will then be followed probably by another round of assay results 2 to 3 weeks later. And then, the assays will continue. We'll probably have, I'd say, probably 3 batches of assays that we report on. It really depends on SGS and their scheduling. With that, we'll have the TOMRA test work on ore sorting, and then later towards the end of the year will be the results of the chemical production from the Cesium. So that's where we're at currently with the exploration that's being conducted on the ground. So that'll keep us, I guess, pretty much through to November time, I would say, by the time we receive our final work on results and assays. And then once we've finalised all of that results, we'll then start putting together the data and the information to come up with our maiden resource on the project.
Okay, great. And Haydn, I've looked through the graphics, which we'll put up on the screen for the viewers to see, of the three major cesium deposits that have been mined, which is Sinclair, Tanko, and Bakita. What strikes me is there's similarity in that it's near surface, it's high-grade polysite, lenses up to 100 meters wide and long, but limited in thickness. I mean, these strike me as being quite hard to find if there is no surface outcrop and limited size. Would you agree? These things can easily be missed.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was an interesting exercise doing the research to find what data we could on all the deposits that have been mined to date, given that Bakita was privately held and controlled by the Chinese, and also Tanko, public listed company, but again held by the Chinese. There was limited data, and what data we could find, a lot of it was based out of Hong Kong. So, but all three of those deposits, you're exactly right. They're very small. They're sort of lenses or nodules of basically, it's a mono-mineralic core of straight polysite, high-grade cesium. Around that, it'll be cased in sort of a very high-grade lithium that's predominantly lepidolite or pedalite. What's unique about Case Lake is that we have got a spodumene core, a spodumene lens around that polysite core. Some of the grades we've seen are up to 4%, which is incredibly high and interesting, and highlights, the level of fractionation that's occurring in that pegmatite. And with that, we've also got tantalum that is sort of 10 times what would be considered high grade. So, over 2,000 ppm tantalum in and around that core as well. So, the size of these is very similar when you look at all projects. They're all very, very small, very easily missed, but extremely, I guess, valuable and hold a high grade. So, we're pretty confident that we've got a couple of other areas to test that may produce potential results again. We haven't sort of got onto the ground there. That'll be sort of a winter program. But the review of those three projects against ours highlights that Case Lake is a world-class deposit currently, and that it also highlights that the potential for these is incredibly it's incredibly real, but it's incredibly challenging to find them given the size. I mean, they could be missed quite easily. If you're doing 100, 150 meter, 200 meter space drill holes, you potentially have missed it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked to me when I looked at the charts. We'll let the viewers decide, but I guess the point being, in modern history, there've only been three really high-grade deposits, and now Case Lake being the fourth, and I think that's important, and again, flagging it as a critical mineral that's come up on the list. So Power Metals is Case Lake project looks to have a very similar geology to the others. Outline for us the drill results so far, and what you're thinking if we look at a cross section, what the potential for further mineralization is.
Yes, so far we haven't received any results. It's just visuals from the team on the ground, the geologists, and they'll be using a portable XRF to give us an indication of exactly what's going on there, and we're hitting some good grades that we consider and identified polysite. We've had a lot of test holes around the area to identify future zones. What's also interesting, though, is when you look at those three other deposits, is they're all hosted around I guess, volcanics, basalts, or the light, greenstone rocks that sort of is indicative with pegmatite mineralisation. Currently, Case Lake hasn't really seen a great deal of that. So we've also conducted a few sort of geological test holes a little bit further out and a little bit deeper to test the basement rocks, and we have hit what we believe is, I guess, some diorites, some volcanics, and some other interesting rocks that are very metamorphically altered that we'll review from the laboratory. But it just highlights that we're in the good grounds there. We know what's happening, and to the bottom also of the mineralisation zone, we're actually starting to see a little bit of lepidolite, which is pretty common amongst, that was the main lithium mineral at Sinclair, also very predominant at Bakita, and there's a bit at Tanko. So, from us now going forward, we're pretty confident that we're hitting some good areas. We're testing a few additional areas, and we still have a number to test. So that's sort of where we're at the moment with those. Next steps going forward is, there's obviously a lot of work to be done, environmental work, which we've commenced, continue to work with the First Nation partners, which is ongoing. As we said, we hosted a visit this week with them on site again. And now it's really getting in front of the government, doing a lot of work with them. And you would have seen our announcement during the week where we received an OJEP grant from the Ontario government for exploration, which is fantastic. And we've also got a number of other avenues to engage with them. The 2024 critical mineral strategy was put out again by the Canadian government just this week. And on that, they highlight the lack of downstream facilities and the emphasis from the government on pushing forward these critical mineral projects. And Cesium is definitely on their list of that. So, for us, it's permitting wise, it's pushing, pushing the government to assist with that. It's the resource work, finalise the test work, and then sort of getting into production. Production for a mine like ours, and I'll use the Sinclair model. That production basically is a large earth-moving exercise, which in our case is not so large, given that the mineralisation is pretty much at surface. And you look at Sinclair, they had to go almost 50 metres down to find their sort of horizontal pods that they found of high-grade polysite, whereas ours sits at surface and is a steeply plunging body that's heading down. And currently it's still open at depth, and it's still open to the east of where we've drilled, which is favourable for us. So then it would be, I guess, moving from there would be earth moving, crush the rock and put it through basically an ore sorter to get a 10% concentrate. And then from there, it really depends on the offtake we look at and who we go with, how they want the product, and then also how the product comes up post Cesium chemical testing. So it's quite a simple and basic concept that's relatively easily.
Haydn, compared to lithium, this is a very different size and scale and cost to get going. So just if you can highlight again, what more or less an ideal timeline would look like, because given your low cost, a final investment decision doesn't require a whole lot of bankers and debt and so on. It's low cost. It's really the permitting side of it, and that's a much smaller footprint than, say, a lithium mine.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we're sort of hoping that we can really break the back of the majority of the work required next year. And I mean, I'd love to say 12 to 18 months, but realistically, it's going to be about an 18-month turnaround. But we're really sort of aggressive on pushing hard to get that done, and meeting with the government, meeting with key sort of Cesium producing chemical companies to push this forward and really get it up and going. It's very low impact. It's very, I guess, capex and opex wise, it's incredibly low. It's going to be a fast turnaround, and that's our key driver now.
Okay, great. And then recently you announced a Cesium advisory committee, given the high level of interest of various global chemical specialists. What does that sort of mean, Hayden, in practical terms?
What we wanted to do is, I started in February, and we began discussions pretty much in February with one, and then two, and then other companies that are interested in the product. This has continued to aggregate, sort of 8 months down the track. And in that time, I reached out to Dr. Nigel Brand, that I've known for some time, and started gathering his knowledge on the work he conducted at Sinclair, the mining and the operations, and realised that we've actually got a leg up on a lot of other companies that are looking for these niche critical minerals. In that Dr. Brand was pivotal in driving Sinclair in the exploration, the development, and the mining phase of that. So we wanted to bring someone on board that had recently had that experience with cesium and a critical mineral that would really, I guess, assist us in a lot of the technical side of what we're doing, and then highlight, some of the pitfalls and the issues they had with mining that mineral. I think it's really influential for the company to bring on board someone that's just had such a high level involvement in probably the last cesium mine that was mined.
Okay, and then you touched on it, but recently you were selected to receive a 200,000 grant from the OJEP. Is that grant specifically for exploration?
Correct. So that's Ontario Junior Exploration funding. It's based for critical mineral exploration, is what the brief for the funding is this year. So that's from April, I think it is March, April, through to next year. So we've already conducted a load of work that's been qualified for that. So it's a matter of now us assessing that and pushing that forward, obtaining the 200,000 grant back. We've also put in for the Canadian government, actually the Ontario government has got a critical mineral innovation fund of up to 500,000, which we've applied for as well at the same time, given that the test work, the production of cesium chemical, also the production of cesium standards and test material for our internal purposes for resource work will also be qualified. So we're hoping to hear back from that one, and then sort of with the government is then getting in front of the government and pushing further at sort of their brief of their critical mineral strategy, which is is quite comprehensive at present. They've got a very strong mandate to drive forward critical minerals, the downstream work, additionally with a lot of the lithium assets that are currently in Canada, but also highlight some of the other critical minerals of which cesium sits on their list.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much, Haydn, for the update. Again, it strikes me, with Case Lake, it's near surface, it's high grade, it's low capex, the timelines are shorter, your footprint is smaller, and I mean, would it be fair to say that that the cesium price is fairly stable? It's not a volatile, highly traded, publicized mineral?
No, you're exactly right with there. It's becoming a more in-demand mineral, and the supply is becoming almost non-existent currently, with Tenco producing, some reports of very little to none currently, which means that the supply of raw material and products to produce the chemicals that a number of companies and countries globally are seeking is becoming ever more difficult. So ultimately, the price of the commodity is going to continue to rise, and the demand for cesium is going to continue to rise, and that puts Power Metals in a very nice place to be, given that we're about to unveil the world's fourth cesium deposit.
That's great. Thanks very much, Haydn.
Thank you for your time.